So I've now been kneading this dough for about 5 or 6 minutes. It feels nice and soft, it's got a spring to it. So I think I'm pretty much ready now to start shaping my bread rolls. Now I want to save some of this dough in order to make a pizza, so I'm going to take about a third off. And the easiest way of showing a third, if you stretch the dough out so it's like a little log, and then cut roughly a third off. I'm going to use that at a later date to make a pizza. So here's my remaining dough. I'm going to make 6 bread rolls today, so the easiest way to divide it up again is cut it in half, divide the 2 pieces. Again, think a third and a third. If you roughly shape these then, just very roughly, just use your hands to round them off a bit. You can see then, if you've been a bit mean with some rolls, well, this one on the end there's too much in there. I'm going to take a little bit off, pop it on there. That one's a little bit small, a bit off there, and there. So I've got roughly 6 rolls of equal size and weight. So the first roll that I'm going to shape is just a basic round roll. We use our fingertips to pull the edges of the dough into the centre. And what this does is it gives us a nice smooth surface. I'm rounding it off using the sides of my hands. Just pat it down ever so slightly. That then goes onto a well-greased baking tray. Start by shaping it just like I did with the round one. Make it into a slightly small sort of log shape. And then 1, 2, 3 pieces. I'm going to move some of that flour away because I don't want too much flour down, because I won't be able to roll it out easily if there's too much flour on the work surface. This thing to remember, not too much flour down on the work surface. You don't want to dry your bread out, your dough rather, but it's not actually bread yet, is it? We haven't baked it. It's still dough. You want these to be a similar size. There's a touch too much flour on it, which is why I'm having trouble rolling that one out. A little bit off the end there. And this is the third piece. So as I'm rolling, I'm going forward and I'm opening my fingers out. Closing, opening, closing, opening. So that looks about right. This needs to be a little bit longer. As I said, I put a bit too much flour on the end of this, and it's a bit difficult to roll then. They're roughly the same size. The next thing we're going to make, we've got our 3 strips of dough there. We're just going to pinch those 3 pieces together. We're going to make a plait. So we take the outside piece of dough over the centre, outside over the centre, outside over the centre. So each time the outside is becoming the centre. Outside centre, outside centre, outside centre. One more. We're just going to pinch the bottom to seal that, to stop the plait becoming undone. Okay, there's our plait. That goes onto the tray as well. We're going to take another ball of dough. We're just going to cut about a third of it off. We're going to do as we did with the first roll, pinch the outsides into the centre, round it off using the sides of our hands. Pinch it into the centre, sides of our hands to round it off. We're then just going to go in with our thumb down to the table. Okay, just round it off a little bit. That's going to be a mini cottage loaf. Roll number 4. Can you see as I'm doing it? Start with open, with close and open. Closed, open. Just try and get it the same diameter. We're going to make something called a serpentine. We're going to twist the dough from one side towards the centre, and then the dough from the other side in the opposite direction, but again towards the centre. Okay. Another quite straightforward one. just like we did with the serpentine, we're going to roll it out into almost like a long snake. Trying to make sure that you haven't got any narrow parts in the dough. And literally, we're just going to tie a knot in it. That goes on the tray as well. And lastly, we're going to make a hedgehog. Just as we did with several of the other rolls, we're just pulling into the centre to give us a nice smooth surface. Round it off. I'm going to put a little bit of flour on my fingertips for this. I'm going to pinch out one end of the dough to create our hedgehog's nose, head and nose. And then using raisins, we're just going to pop 2 raisins in to create eyes. And then I just need to get a scissors in order to snip some prickles on his back. I'm meant to have that ready, forgot all about it. I'm just literally going to cut little snips, starting at the base of the hedgehog, all the way around, and then a line there, and another line there. These going onto the baking tray as well. Now, these bread rolls are going to rise. They're going to double in size, so I need to make sure there's enough space between each roll for them to rise without touching. Okay, so they're nicely spaced out. They then are going to go and sit just on top of my cooker. The oven is preheating at 200 degrees centigrade. These will take probably about 25 to 30 minutes to rise in this room because it's a warm room. At home you might find it takes nearer 40 minutes, sometimes as much as an hour in a cold room. Once they've risen, and we'll show you that later, once they've risen, we bake them for about 15 to 18 minutes in that hot oven, 200 degrees centigrade. It's about gas mark 6. We are using a fan oven actually, so we're going to bake these at 180 because the fan ovens actually tend to be hotter. Okay, so there are bread rolls. That's our lesson for today. Our bread has been rising now for about 45 minutes. Took a little bit longer because we've only got one oven on in the room, so the room's not that warm. But it's ready now to go into that nice hot oven, about 200 degrees C, 180 for a fan, gas mark 6. That goes into the centre of the oven if you're using gas, and any shelf if you've got a fan oven, but the middle shelf if you've got an electric non-fan oven.